Hello and welcome to the channel. Contrary to reports a few days ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu still has not released his ministerial lists. So why are Nigerians so desperate for one? Why the constant fixation on producing a list comprising of this government's ministers as soon as possible, and who makes the cut? Former President Buhari took almost 6 months, so maybe, just maybe, Nigerians are just desperate for Tinubu not to toe that path, even if there is a decree now that specifically goes against that. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. Tinubu and burden of ministerial list. You may have seen it. The list, of course. Those who think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not moving fast enough to appoint ministers have offered to help. They have composed their own ministerial list for him and shared it on social media. It is trending now. Just one look at it, however, and you will know that it is an improbable list, even for a banana republic. It did not make sense. Going by the list, not a few commentators are already relishing the prospects of Adams Oshiomhole as Minister of Works, Nasir El-Rufai as Minister of Interior, and Nyesom Wike as Police Affairs Minister, among other fabrications. It might appear silly to ask, but why the desperation? It's partly because in many respects, we don't want anything that resembles a return to the Muhammadu Buhari era. It took Buhari 1/8 of his first term or 4 years, or roughly the time General Murtala Mohammed spent in office, to compose his cabinet. While Buhari was crashing his head, trying to find his footing, the country ran on voodoo, psychedelically called body language, which really meant nothing. When Buhari finally came around to it, especially in his second term, he appointed a number of ministers and some non-ministers. In fact, that made people regret that he made any appointment at all. I stopped obsessing about ministerial lists long before Buhari appointed ministers. A number of his ministers and appointees made the office a joke to see, yet, never lacking in the ingenuity of self-help, they managed to make it serious business for themselves. When he reconstituted the federal boards in 2017, Buhari appointed 3 dead people into positions. I guess the anxiety about the next ministerial list is partly because the public is genuinely concerned that Tinubu must avoid these mistakes of the past. In some ways, Abuja sets the tone for governance. Regardless of many years of the bad habits it has foisted on a failing federal structure, forming an early cabinet might help not just the rest of the country, but also partners outside, to have an idea where the country is headed and how to engage the continent's largest and perhaps one of its most intractable enigmas. To sustain the speed and momentum of a number of the far-reaching decisions taken by President Tinubu from his first day in office, also, he needs to get his cabinet in place as quickly as possible, but surely not on the timeline of speculators who have not only named his cabinet for him on social media, but have also assigned portfolios and given them a resumption date. I have learned over the years to pay some attention to what is happening in states and local governments too. A lot going on in Abuja could be undone by governors who, for example, decide to run amok, and we've seen them before. We saw how well the well-being of the whole could be severely impaired by the sum of the parts. For example, when Ahmed Sani Yerima was governor of Zamfara State, the introduction of political Sharia law in the state and its distorted application watered the seed of radicalism not only there, but also in many parts of the Northwest. Apart from militancy in the South-South, President Olusegun Obasanjo spent a chunk of his time dealing with the serious security fallouts of Yerima's rascality, not to mention the supercharged testosterone of the former governor that could not be restrained until it found a consort in a 15-year-old Egyptian girl. The fellow appears to be back in circulation. It is not funny. Once Yerima stoked religious tensions in Gusau, the flames leaped across 12 other states in the north, raising an army of angry people, especially among the young population for whom problems common to new democracies, such as corruption and inequality, were framed as moral questions to be addressed by the religious police. Sadly, a high court in the state gave a bizarre ruling that circumscribed the freedom of adherents of other faiths or even non-faithers resident in the state guaranteed in the constitution. Political Sharia became a convenient distraction for political leaders who deflected accountability after collecting billions of naira from Abuja that they squandered on themselves. No template of ministers by Obasanjo could have foreseen the monster that this zealotry would morph into years later. BH, ISWAP, and other franchises of insurgency found recruits from this religious hotbed from which the country has still not recovered. Of course, the North did not have a monopoly of such cautionary tales. When a junior minister in Obasanjo's government, Nenadi Usman, decided to publish a monthly account of what state governments were getting from the Federation account, for example, it turned out to be a scam fest of who is who. There was very little to show for the billions collected. Governors up and down the country had gone rogue, helping themselves to the treasury and stashing abroad whatever was left. A report by Matthew T. Page entitled Dubai Property, an oasis for Nigeria's corrupt political elite, said a 2015 report, for example, claimed that Nigerian buyers accounted for 60% of all serviced apartment sales in Dubai. Likewise, in 2012, the sales manager of a Dubai real estate firm claimed Nigerians had invested up to $6 billion in Dubai property over the 3 previous years. Beyond the description of the buyers as politically exposed persons, the general descriptive classifications contained in the report show that security sector leaders and governors were high at the top of the list of the Nigerian owners of Dubai. While we obsess about the coming ministerial list, we need to keep an eye on what is happening in the states too. It might be useful not only to be interested in what the governors are doing, but also in who they are appointing to do what and how, especially with rubber stamp assemblies. Of course, it will be unfair to tar all states with a dirty brush. Lagos, especially since 1999, Ekiti under Governor Kayode Fayemi, Kaduna and Rivers have made significant strides and will do well to stay on course. I understand too how what happens at the center, what ministers do or fail to do once beaten by Abuja milities, can affect how states are run. But for too long, states have been on a long leash because Abuja's poor reputation has made it the trough of every rogue. That's why we are obsessed with who is the next minister and who is not. Nobody knows more than Tinubu that even though he carries the same party flag with Buhari, he does not have the luxury of Buhari's honeymoon period. And should he make any wrong choices, hopefully not, given the scale of the challenges facing the country, he must immediately remove such appointees instead of indulging them like his predecessor, as if it was some complicated conjugal misery. Perhaps by Tuesday, when the official list is finally released and laid before the Senate, appointment mongers on social media will take their business elsewhere, maybe to the ethno-religious market, where the tribe and religion of the new appointees would almost certainly become the new articles of trade. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Bye.